let's have some fun and call this fellow up. Let's have some fun. (8:11) on. Hey, Frank, would you like to be on the air early?
I'll be on the air anytime you want me to.
Hey, it's 8:11 Eastern Standard Time. What time is it in Texas?
7:11.
7:11. Oh, it's only 1 hour behind.
That's right.
Sounds like a store.
Yeah.
So, October's coming up at 90 miles an hour.
Okay.
In 2 weeks, we'll be doing our Bela Lugosi special.
All right.
For 6 weeks, and then I think we'll do some Hercules.
Okay.
But right now, we've got a classic from the silent era. Am I correct?
That's correct. The Lost World, 1925, directed by Harry Hoyt. But the main name in there is Willis O'Brien, the special effects animator. It's a feature-length film with stop-motion animation, the type that people are familiar with from King Kong. Willis did King Kong, and this is kind of a dry run for that. And if you study it, the models in King Kong are advanced beyond this. They're higher rev. And there's two reasons for that. Is that one is O'Brien was a perfectionist who continued to perfect his cast, and I think through the years he built a team that had some superb modelers in them. And one of them was a guy named Marcel Delgado, who I think it's fair to say was principally responsible for the actual design of the building and design of the animals, so under O'Brien's supervision. And so those dinosaurs as models are superior, but the animation in this is fine. And I'll give Lost World a plus over King Kong in one respect. And King Kong, I think you never see more than two animated models on screen at the same time. You know, King Kong fighting the Tyrannosaurus or King Kong fighting the pterodactyl or whatever. If you look at one of the panoramic screens, which of course is in miniature, there's like 7 or 8 dinosaurs being animated at the same time. You know, there's a family of Tyrannosaurus and a few Triceratops and etc. on screen at the same time, all moving and all that. And I don't think O'Brien ever tried that again. You know, that was really pushing his art. It must have been awfully painstaking to do that. And the star of the movie is who's the star of the movie? Wallace Beery, excuse me. And he's playing Professor Challenger. And whether in the books or in the movies, whenever Professor Challenger is there, you can't wait for one of the dinosaurs to gobble him up. He's kind of an obnoxious, overbearing egotist. And even in the book, I never liked him in the books I've read. He's appeared in a couple of books that Conan Doyle wrote.
Oh, so there's more than one Arthur Conan Doyle Lost World.
No, there's more than one Arthur Conan Doyle book with Professor Challenger.
Oh, thank you for correcting me.
The Lost World is by far the most famous. There's one that's name escapes me, but it's about a plague that overtakes the earth. And I think those are the two. Oh, there's another one about a mining expedition to the center of the earth. I'm sorry, I don't have those names in front of me. I never cared for Professor Challenger. It might be true to say he's like a real-life scientist, because he's really, some real-life scientists, I should say, he's really into himself, and he has little tolerance for people that don't basically agree with him. This was very nearly a lost film, and when I first got into the movie-going bit, you had trouble seeing anything in this film because it was in fragments, and for a long time, it wasn't called Lost, but it was called In Fragments, and there were big scenes missing out of it. And little by little over the years, it's been pieced together. They found a print in the Czechoslovakian archive that had some scenes no one else had. And places like that, I mean, they really go far afield. And they put together what looks like a pretty complete print. I don't know which one you're showing, but you can almost have a video library of the different versions of Lost World out there, because some of them have just taken the bare bones and basically they play as quite disjoint fragments. Some of them are cohesive. Again, I don't know which one you're showing. Basically, The first one I saw had Ape Man played by Bull Montana in the credits, and the Ape Man never appeared in the movie.
Wow.
And the last version I saw is he had quite a big part. He's in quite a few scenes in the movie. And he's quite fearsome. It's more than just a man in a monkey suit. They did their homework on the makeup here. And so again, I don't know how long is the version you're playing tonight? Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay.
I'm trying to actually crank these out with our interviews.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know what this one is.
Okay. Oh, I'm sure it's worth watching anyway, simply to see the animation that was used so well in King Kong. They do a fine job here. I think what may strain your viewers' patience is the beginning. The scenes in London are kind of hokey melodrama, overacted, and the ending scene in London when they bring a dinosaur back and put it on exhibition, kind of they could have put more effort into that. My guess is if they were doing things in sequence, they were running out of money because O'Brien's work was not cheap. And
even back in the day,
I found, you have to be very careful when you see the budget of this movie is, because you never know what they've included in there or if they're telling the truth. But this was budget. This is reported that had cost $700,000, which in 1925 was a lot of money. I don't think there were many movies more expensive than that made that year. So
how long do you think the original version was?
My guess is it was on the order of 2 hours. I think the longest version out there. I'm guessing. I should have these numbers in front of me, but I don't. And usually, Joe, I get on my websites about 7:30, so I have all this stuff. 8:30, so I have all this stuff in front of me, and you've kind of thrown me a pinch. So I got to do all this from memory now.
But that's okay. 2 hours is a long movie for a silent.
Yeah, silents weren't as short as a lot of people think. But it was well over an hour. I think the longest version out there is on the order of 90 minutes. And I have never seen a version that has Arthur Conan Doyle's introduction. The original 1925, it has, basically he's introducing it. I think he's at a desk or whatever. And I have not seen a version which takes a similar clip of Arthur Conan Doyle from 1927 and taps it on to the beginning of this. I think the original introduction is lost, but I always have to hesitate when I say lost, because what's lost today might be found tomorrow.
Well, one would think the Library of Congress would have that.
I don't. This is a good topic of which I cannot speak with authority. I don't know when the Library of Congress started collecting films. It was a long time before the people that made the films even took care of the films. They saw them as something that would make money for them for a couple of months, and then they lost interest in it. And preserving these old nitrate negatives or converting them to acetate, and now they do it all to disc. But converting these to better film stock was not cheap, and a lot of people that own these movies didn't see a lot of reason for that. So there's a lot of good stuff that's lost. I don't know when the Library of Congress started taking a serious interest in films. And of course, in those days, you just couldn't get a print of a film. You couldn't buy a DVD like you could then. There were a handful of prints. I don't know how many prints are made of a first-run movie. Probably in the dozens, maybe the hundreds for a big international release. And that's why they find these things in weird archives. The Spanish Dracula that was filmed simultaneous with Bela Lugosi's more famous Dracula, they found that was pretty much lost. They found it in Cuba. It was in an archive there.
Well, that makes sense.
And it makes and just recently, this was in the news in the last week, I think. There were Horror of Dracula, the movie we call Horror of Dracula, which in England is simply Dracula, the 1958 movie with Christopher Lee. Some lost footage of that has been found in Tokyo. So, so these things are ongoing, and so I'm glad Lost World isn't lost. It was almost lost. It was in fragments for most of my life, and lately they've started pulling those together. The George Eastman house is probably the hero in this. They've made a real effort. So what else can we talk about tonight, Joe?
Well, that's pretty interesting. I have one final question on the Lost World. Do you think there's music on many of these prints now?
The last print I saw had a good music score, a passable music score, I would say. Some of the re-releases or video releases of old silent films have kind of edgy musical scores. I watched The Penalty, an early Lon Chaney movie from 1920, which is the print was in excellent condition. But I was surprised. It wasn't the organ music or the kind of things you associate with silent movies. They had some really innovative soundtrack on that, and I was really impressed with it. I think there's no doubt that some of the prints you get on this, the DVDs on this, have music and you got to be careful. Some of the music is tailored to the movie. Some of the music they just slap something on and don't care if it matches the mood or not. Let's see, the 1961 version of The Lost World came out, and on a 2-disc set, and disc 1 is the 1961 version, and disc 2 is a not bad version of the 1925 one. So it's probably easier to find that than a lot of copies of The Lost World that are worth anything. You go to the bargain stores and it says for 12 discs, 50 horror movies, for $10, and you buy that. There's a good chance The Lost World is going to be on there, but it's probably a pretty crude cut with a lot of gaps in it.
So, Frank, is there a Bela Lugosi silent in those movies that I listed for you?
No, Bela Lugosi's silence. I won't impress you by rattling them off. He probably made a half dozen or so silents in the USA. He actually appeared in 10 films in Germany in the 1 year he was there, and maybe another 10 before that in Hungary. Almost all of those are lost. Some of them there are clips that survive. Some of them are some of the American ones are probably lost.
So if I track one down, what I'm thinking is getting you a copy of it, and then we can have a special some night where we actually play the movie, and you play it simultaneously where you are, and we can, or unless you're on a computer and you can see the show.
Yeah, I can do that.
And we can actually talk about the movie right over it as we're running the silent.
We could try, but sometimes it's hard to find an hour and a half, an hour or so to talk about during some of these movies. But yeah, I'll give it a shot. If you let me know what the movie is, if I can get a copy, we'll see if we can simulcast our voice discussion over that.
Well, we can always talk about your book, so we can talk about your book when there's a lull in the film.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, a lot of the movies you buy on DVD today, they'll have a voice commentary. You go in and you pick the option of the voice commentary. And I'd say of the ones I listen to, about half the commentator has really done his homework. He's got something interesting to say to fill the gaps and all that. And some of the commentators, I think, got caught a bit short and kind of stuttered through the more expositional things that don't have a lot to be saying about. So if you give me enough warning, I'll see what we can do. That'll be quite a thing, though. I don't know if we can pull it off, but we'll give it a shot. Hey, right?
Sounds good to me, man.
All right.
Hey, good talking to you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Very good.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Frank Dello Stritto talking about The Lost World, which is going to air tomorrow night here at WinCAM, of course. And I'll try to edit this together so that tomorrow night, those who want to tune in at 9 can see The Lost World with our previewing it again.